I'd like to call this meeting of the Gloucester School Committee Program Subcommittee to order. Today, someone's echoing.
Your audio is on.
Sure, it's not mine. Today is Monday, December 8th, it's 5 p.m. when we are at the Gloucester High School. I don't need to read our Zoom meeting notice. Before we begin our agenda tonight, I just want to acknowledge the tremendous loss our community suffered in the loss of Anne Margaret Ferrante, someone who was devoted to all things Gloucester schools and to the work of this committee. So I'd like to just have a moment of silence in honor of Anne Margaret. Thank you, and thank you forever to Anne Margaret and for all she did for all of us. So first, I guess I'll start with everyone introducing themselves who's at this meeting. Oh, not for the subcommittee.
Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't know that.
So Amy, would you mind starting?
Amy Cairns, Director of Mental Health and Social Emotional Learning for the Gloucester Public Schools.
Amy Caswell, Assistant Superintendent.
Ben Lummis, Superintendent.
Jeremy McKean, School Committee.
Laura Weeson, School Committee.
Keith Minio, School Committee.
Stephanie DeLisi, Recording Secretary. So we have had a slight change to our agenda this evening. We will not be discussing the auto shop user fees this time. We don't have all the information we need to make an informed decision on that, so that will be postponed to a later meeting. So we are going to cover file JIFCB revisions of policy to prevent bullying. That's our anti-bullying policy. And I will turn the podium over to our administrators.
I'll start and then Cam will help us out. So we need to update our bullying prevention policy. It's out of date. It's not been revised since I believe 2013. Overall, really, typically, as you know, we typically will give you a red line version of the current policy and the changes we're making. But because it's such a substantial overhaul to the current model policy from MASC, we're just giving you two separate documents. Okay, but what we have done is summarized changes. These changes we guys up to date with both sort of state law and DESE expectations, I should say. And you can see in the summary document, which you have before you. So what you have is you have the summary document that compares the two, okay, the changes between them. You have the actual the new recommended policy. And we did a nice job of putting in the proposed revision. So it's easy to check because they look very similar. And then the currently existing policy.
Before you begin, can I ask one question?
Of course.
Proposed updated policy 2021.
Yeah, so that was the most recent update from MASC.
Okay, because I was looking for that on their website today. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's the official. So you'll see that. I mean, hey, what do you think is best to go through the key differences here?
Yeah, because what I was working on mostly was the protocols and the operationalizing of this, and making sure that we were in line with the policy. But this, I think, our current policy was missing a lot of the key elements that were needed to, be aligned with the state's requirements.
Yeah. So let's go through those. The investigation time frame. So as in our policy, it's defined, undefined. But what the state requires is a 14-day completion time frame. That's obviously is reflected in the new version. Again, parent updates. Similarly, you'll see a sort of a pattern here that the 2013 policy leaves a number of these things sort of undefined or not unspecific. And so parent updates again requires notice to parents in our current policy, but this one is essentially kind of parents on a weekly basis at a minimum, and that's prescribed in the policy. Okay, it also requires the parents be informed of results upon completion. And that means including, whether it was a determination if there was bullying or if there was not bullying. Folks should just stop and ask the questions if at any point, basically. False accusations, so in the current policy, again, more general. In the new one, sorry, the proposed revision, it has to allow for anonymous reporting. We've had this in place, but our policy didn't call for it, okay? And then staff obligations also makes that more explicit, that we're required to report any instance they witness or become aware. Anonymous reporting, so the anonymous reporting also in the new version addresses retaliation specifically. And it has specific language on prohibiting it against anyone who reports, witnesses, or provides information. So that's that level of specificity. Okay.
Yeah, can I ask a quick question? Sorry, just go back. For the parent updates,
Yes.
is that unilateral or does it include both involved parties, the accused and the?
It's both. There's
It's both.
in the new operational protocols, there's notifications that a report was made of both parties, the target and the alleged aggressor. And then there's the updates if the investigation takes longer than this time frame that you keep updating them. And then there's a notification at the end that says whether it was substantiated, unsubstantiated, or inconclusive.
Yeah, so both parties are involved.
Yes.
With the updates. Okay.
So again, going on with also on retaliation, that it again implied in the original policy, but then there's a explicit section prohibiting retaliation in the new policy. And then training oversight, again, makes the original policy mentions providing training for all personnel and making available to parents. To provide one, that training for staff and volunteers must be annual. And also mandates that the bullying prevention plan be reviewed and updated every 2 years. Not having that in our policy as one of the factors leading to that we're only looking at this after many years. Okay. And then also requires another report to the superintendent about instances.
Throughout the district.
Yeah, for the district, exactly right. So we haven't been doing that either. Okay, now we will again. And then here about this one here.
So
Good.
So the old policy really spent most of its time describing what is not bullying.
Right, I saw that.
Okay, so this this leaves that out. And we generally use the guidelines of RIP, which is repeated intentional and a power differential, as the guidelines for what bullying is.
Can you say that again?
So it's-
Repeated intentional.
Repeated behavior, so one,
Yeah.
unless it's egregious, one doesn't generally meet the standard of bullying. Intentional, and so you intentionally try to cause harm, and a power differential, so that could be social power, that could be more than one child, that could be age differential. I mean, power could be defined a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so there is a definition of what is bullying. So there's no longer a definition of what is not bullying?
Well, in the operational protocol, it does have helpful terms and defines everything.
It
So pure
defines
conflict
like
versus-
normal,
Right.
like teasing,
Pure conflict,
playful,
yes.
like banter, that sort of thing is,
Well-
there are examples of things that are definitely not bullying,
Yes, but just not in the policy.
not in the policy. Okay.
And then staff reporting again, more generalized than the original, and now it's got quite a bit more specific and immediate reporting required essentially. The other piece that it does is it requires, as most of your policies do, us to create administrative procedures in this case, a bullying protocols and response plan. I have the name right?
Bullying prevention and intervention
There
plan.
we go. And what we shall also share with you, we shared with you is the table of contents of that. You're the last page here, you got the table of contents. Had the, as we do with a few of the policies, had the procedures in there in the bullying, in the policy manual. We don't want to do it this time because it's very extensive and they are linked to many other documents and stuff. But we do want to share with you so you can review them, the different, the table, table of contents of it. And as we just talking about part one, for example, had the helpful terms, the definition of those. Some of those taken right out of the policy, but they're more than that. We can also show that to you at some point, but just don't want to mix up you approving a policy and you just, being aware of the procedures. Okay, I have to share more of that with you, but don't want to confuse that there's voting on one, but not another. Not voting on the policy, not the procedures. That makes sense.
Voting on policy, not the procedure.
Right, yeah, exactly. So we want to sort of give you a level of awareness of the specificity, really, the detail that the investigation, prevention and intervention plan goes, includes.
And that was not in our current policy.
The procedures were, the procedure was separate. It's one of those times where we have like JIFCBR.
Okay,
Okay,
Right,
some
I'm
of
not
them
seeing it.
are,
okay.
which has caused a bit of confusion because folks, the school committee often like, are we voting on this and not that?
Right,
And it's sort of, and then when we change it, we do change procedure, we need to change it. So the school committee don't really, so wanted to make sure you're aware of the like level of detail we're going into, but not, connect the two. What your role is. And again, at another time, happy to share with you more details of this as long as.
well, I'm trying to recall, is it Title IX violations? There's another policy we've worked on that has like a very specific investigation and intervention protocols. I think it's Title IX,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Where there's a staff member who is assigned to be the point of, right? Is this a similar thing?
Well, one's really federal and one's state, so that's the difference, but, and one's, I would say the Title IX ones are more prescribed.
It's more prescribed by
Yeah.
federal government, but
Yeah.
there's not like somebody that is decision maker in this. The investigation leads to a decision.
Okay, yeah, I was just, that's the one that I'm more familiar with,
Yeah,
is Title IX.
yeah.
So,
But that's actually more prescriptive in terms of the investigation procedure.
right, because it's federal, okay, thank you for I'm conflating, so. Does anyone have any questions?
And I just have concerns, right? I we recognize bullying as a problem, but there's a certain point where like I feel in my mind, kids need to explore boundaries and work things out amongst themselves. And at what point does this escalate to disciplinary action? Where, okay, it's not repeated, it's not intended to harm, maybe it's just, just testing boundaries between peers. And how do we, while preventing, terrible examples of bullying, while still maintaining the ability for children to grow emotionally, because part of emotional growth is experiencing adversity. Where is that balance is my concern. Like, how are we is this gonna be a little more overreaching as I fear it, could be? Or do our kids have space to challenge each other in in more or less a respectful way, and grow emotionally? I know we're all always talking about social emotional learning. I think a big part of that is the conflicts, minor conflicts, or brief conflicts. And are we teaching our kids that any conflict is bad? Are our kids' anxieties stemming from the expectation of safety all the time, emotional safety?
Well, but they gave there's a definition.
Yeah.
Did you read this? I mean, it's a very specific definition of what then goes into the category of bullying. And I was part of one investigation of this type where they decided it wasn't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are very specific, I mean, Amy, and you guys can speak more to it, but repeated intentional.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, so I think we want to teach kids, and we do teach kids through the Trails program, through other efforts, through Wayfinder. We teach kids how to resolve conflicts in a healthy manner. We are not going to eliminate every harmful word, but, we also want to create a culture in our schools that makes it safe and emotionally safe, physically safe for kids to learn. So when it rises to this level, that's when, or when someone reports something that they see, a parent, a community member, a staff member, another student has reported. Sometimes because we created a better reporting system, an anonymous reporting system, that it's investigated. And if it rises to the level of bullying, then the proper responses are taken. However, if there's also, it wasn't found substantiated, sometimes the same outcome happens, and it's education. We're always here to educate kids to do better, learn skills, and handle things in a better way in the future. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess, my concern is that we allow our kids to try to work it out on their own in the first place. And if it gets to the point where like they feel like they're at their wit's end, or, obviously like obvious signs of bullying, like we've described in these procedures and manuals, policies, I'm just hoping there's going to be a balance in practice. I mean, like we write these things down, and there are situations where, people, authorities like teachers will use their discretion and decide if it's really bullying or not. Like I have a personal example. I mean, I don't know how many details I want to give, but I was kind of taken aback because my son, he said something to a teacher to ask about his friend when they were about to get on a bus for a school trip, for a field trip. And he used his nickname, well, he started to, and it was an inappropriate nickname. But it's a nickname that the teachers heard on many occasions, as testified by my son, and that he didn't even get the words out of his mouth before he was reprimanded and had to speak with the principal. And this was a friend of his, and he wanted to make sure he was going to be on the field trip because he was concerned because I don't want to go into the details, but he was concerned that he was going to be on the field trip because of a certain condition that he was dealing with. And he's a friend. He was invited like the week before to his birthday party, and we accepted. And then when I heard what happened, I called the mother and I had a frank conversation and told him my son was accused of bullying and accused of a civil rights violation by the teachers. And I feel there is a point where it does get excessive. And my son was afraid he was going to get arrested. And meanwhile, this is somebody he considers a friend, somebody he would have his back if he was really teased, and he was only using words that he's heard from other students, and, as far as the nickname goes. And, that's the excessive, like the discretionary enforcement is, I think, what my concern is like, where is our training at? Where's the discretion, and, where are the limits to, like,
So I think one of the things that, there's the balance you're talking about. The balance of parents and also educators, staff, principals really, struggle with all the time, right? It's this, letting kids grow up and also teaching them how to treat each other, right? And I think that really clear policy and really clear procedures especially help folks do that better. So we're not doing it willy-nilly. We're not having one standard here and a different standard there. And then the other piece is it helps then our staff, and that includes teachers and principals and others, go through a process to determine whether it is or not. Bullying, or if if it's repeated, there's a power differential. It's creating a place that's difficult to be. Right, and so that's I think that this is designed and will help us do it better. Okay, because there are plenty of times, as Amy just said, that there are plenty of times where someone thinks it is, and we look into it more, and we determine it's not.
Yeah,
So what I wanna be really clear is like, both things happen. I don't know, I don't have the data in terms of equally, we will have the data very honestly. But that's what good procedures will do. It allows it to be done even handedly, it allows it to be done thoroughly, allows it to be done in a way that everyone is treated the same way.
and based on evidence with this anonymous reporting system. If, like, you can't just be in trouble from an anonymous report with no evidence.
No, no one gets in trouble without an investigation and understanding determine whether or not bullying happened. The other complicated part, very honestly, is just the term bullying. Okay, it's thrown around lots of different ways, but it has actually very specific definition now, from the state, and we have here. And so just really determining that, is it just playing around, horsing around, and, an insult that happened one time, or is it an ongoing, pattern of behavior that's really harming someone? I think we always wanna be able to determine that. And we want a clear process and procedures to do it.
And the power differential component of the definition is from the state, is that part of it, that came from where the aspect of the power differential, that's like from the state level?
Oh, I mean, in terms of, yeah, that's essentially, that's
Definition from the
one of the
state.
requirements for it to be born.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I can imagine an oversized sixth grader having a power differential over a seventh grader, so it's not always like, oh, it's just because he's in a lower grade, he's not being a
It's
bully.
not based on.
Right. It also can be numbers of kids,
Yes.
like 3 or 4 kids with one kid, that's how it.
It could
older
be
and younger.
social power.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So I think it's something that we're really well aware of, is that not everything goes bullying. That's why you do have a process and procedure for investigating and determination.
And is there a bullying coordinator at every school, or how do we do that, Gloucester?
So it's a principal or designate. In our protocols,
Okay, I'm sorry, you said,
a principal or a
or
designate,
that's, okay,
so usually assistant principal when there is one or.
gotcha.
Principal or assistant principal, yeah.
Okay,
So my other question was, the use of the word promptly in the revision, because I really, took very
Tell
seriously.
us where you are.
Page 3, investigation procedures. And then the second one, so the first graph, the second graph. Because I fully understand the sort of intention, and it exists, of, making things much more specific in the updated policy. But then we have promptly, the principal or upon receipt of a report shall promptly contact the parents, and then the school principal or designee shall promptly investigate. Given that the point is to sort of be clearer on this, is that something we want to spell out more clearly? Within a certain period of time?
So in the protocol, there's a whole timeline and who's responsible for what.
Okay,
But once we receive the initial report, it goes to the assistant principal or principal or assistant principal within 24 hours of receipt. So that's defined. And then it does say promptly for this initiation of investigation, we can determine that. And also look at state guidelines, which we will do.
and
But I get so the online reports come to me, and within minutes, they're triaged to the appropriate school.
so can you spell that out a little bit? So like, what do you get?
So I get the online forms. So
I
when
mean, there
they're
are lots of
filled,
different ways to
Yes.
report, this is one.
it could be verbal, they could go in, they could call someone. So any way that we get a report, we respond, but the anonymous online form that we created last year, Grant was hugely helpful in that. It comes to one person, so me, and then I get in touch with the principal or the, local principal of that school.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, it may be that promptly is required here, because I know that then sort of the triage is getting in touch with all the different people, the parents, the student, and that's not always definable in time.
Yeah, and there is, if you go down a few more paragraphs, the investigation shall be completed within 14 days from the date of the report. So if they don't start it promptly, we're limiting our ability to have the time to do the full investigation. So I think it's inherent that it's right away.
Okay.
You mentioned within 24 hours, this game.
Within procedures, yeah.
Initial report to the alerting up to the principal who's gonna investigate.
Gotcha. That seems proper.
And then the principal have to promptly investigate begin the investigation. But isn't that true that beginning the investigation, you know, you don't know, you can't always gather the people and materials right immediately, right?
I think that's the hesitation to put a
Right.
clear time, number of days or hours on this.
Right,
But really do here, like, you'll want to wait 4 or 5 days, that sort of thing. So, because it's just hard to, that's, I think, why there's,
okay,
that we haven't defined that further. I think we could, you could also do something, in the nature of, you could do something like about, I thought, I had the wording about how you could do something where there also needs to be an out, meaning what I mean, like, if you said 2 days,
Right.
then.
whenever possible.
Yeah, you wanna have something like that right in there, so, but I think we're open to that sort of consideration, as long as there's the sort of allowance for extenuating circumstances,
Right, I just know that it's not always easy to get the people that you need to do this.
Yeah.
People don't answer calls, people don't, like, I understand, people don't wanna talk about it.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Do you think we need a time there, or is promptly within the?
I think the immediate nature of a bullying claim would, press upon the whoever's notified to take care of it immediately. So I feel like promptly might be the best word. And I think that it is, it's one of those issues that has to be taken care of right away.
Right, but I guess my feeling is if we're spelling out in this more specifically, like the part of the point of this is to spell it out.
Yeah. What are you thinking besides promptly?
Just sort of like what Ben said,
Yeah. 1 to 2 days or something?
or shall,
Contact the parents or guardians.
You have a timeline of 14 days already to complete the
that's to
investigation.
complete it.
Right?
Yeah, but shouldn't, that be, like, promptly be like considering the 14 days? I don't know.
It does consider the 14 days for completion, that's what Amy was saying. I'm just wondering, but I know from my experience with this, like, sometimes parents don't see it and they just don't respond
Right.
at all.
Yeah,
And,
or they don't notice.
or they miss
Yeah.
right, but in any case, you can't force people to respond.
But you can't get the kid out of harm's way. I mean, I think that's part of it,
Yeah,
right?
the
Is
protective measures.
the protective measure right away.
That's how I would say it, I think.
during the investigation.
So so we were just talking this through, and I'm talking about the first paragraph about contacting parents and guardians.
Mhm.
You could do something along the lines of, what do you think, make every effort to contact the parent or guardian of a student within 2 school days. I think the contact is actually, there's contact and safety, the two most urgent things, okay? The report, can take them,
Right.
just to get off the ground, take a little bit longer.
Right.
Okay, but we still want promptly there, and that's,
Okay,
but we could, just Amy and I were talking, make every effort, to contact the parent or guardians of a student within 2 school days.
And if there's no, follow up if there's no response by other means, or like, should there be like a follow up if they don't get?
well, they're making every effort. I mean, I think
So
that.
every effort is if you call and they don't answer, you might send an email, you might
Right,
send a
make
Kindle
every effort
message.
to contact.
After,
Yeah.
within 2 school days.
Yeah,
In 2 school days instead of number of hours, because it might be over a weekend or say
Right.
Thanksgiving break, like they might be extenuating, you want it.
Yeah,
As quickly as you
I think that, I like that. Does that work operationally?
yeah, that's what I was sort of checking, yeah, I think so.
Should the contacts be more direct? You know what I mean, like contact directly, like phone? You know what I mean?
I
It's
don't
also
think
like,
Have an email,
Yeah,
Sure, but like I'm saying, like a lot of parents can miss emails.
Right, well,
in a timely manner.
my
Right.
sense is, tell me if I'm wrong, if your kid is accused of bullying, you're getting a phone call. Like, you're getting a phone call and you're getting repeated calls.
I got a message.
What do you mean by message? Message, an email or voicemail?
Actually, I think it was a text message. It might have been an email. You can double check.
I think every effort,
I think 2 days is fair, and I think that we do that. I
Okay.
mean, I actually do think, I get things over the summer. I call the police if that's the necessary. There was an incident that was more criminal. So
Right.
we attend to these.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course.
you can also make it explicitly procedures about,
Yeah.
like a
Each-
phone call,
yeah.
text, email, everything.
And then just on your point of safety,
Yeah.
I know that's probably in the procedures. Is there anything we need to say about protecting the student in here?
The third paragraph has that, I
The
think
board staff shall be assigned to alleged target scenes for protection, create and, okay. Yeah, yep. So interesting, 2013 and today.
Right, yeah.
And like the cyber piece and
Mhm.
it's
Yes,
just like,
everything.
it's like a world of difference, right? I couldn't find this policy updated on MASC, so they did update this in 2021, and are we reflecting their,
no, but this is it.
this is their,
Yeah, this-
okay,
this-
I just couldn't find it on the website, okay. All right, well, that makes a lot of sense. Any other questions?
I just wanna understand, again, why, is it because, okay, the removal of the 1.2.
Just tell us where you are.
What 1.2 from the original draft, the original policy, non-bullying examples we've removed. Is definitely, what is the reasoning behind removing examples of non-bullying? Okay, they're jostling for the water fountain, somebody gets a little rough and somebody gets a bloody nose, it's not we spend time defining what is bullying, but we've removed what are examples of just normal.
But it's a bullying policy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Prevention.
Yes,
So
and the
I just wanna know what the reason is.
training for our staff on how to do investigations,
Mhm.
and then that the policy says they have to have it annually, it's our training. Defines what is bullying and examples of what is not.
Yeah,
So that's
okay.
part of the training
So part of the training,
and part of the procedures,
Procedures,
it's not
yeah.
necessarily part of the
Okay.
policy.
I just wanna make sure it's somewhere in the training or let's say the procedure manuals. Where they, have discretion over understanding normal,
You also can't put an exhaustive list of what
Sure,
is
I
not
get-
bullying in
yeah.
here, right? So to keep it focused
Can't
on
really
what
put an
is
exhaustive
bullying,
list of what is
apologize,
bullying, yeah.
right? But in our training and we certainly go over it
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
and do procedures.
Those are three random examples.
Yeah.
all right, does anyone want to make a motion
I'll make a motion.
to put in a change some language?
Sure. This is to bring it
To
to
recommend that to the full
the
committee.
full committee. With changes, recommend the proposed revision of bullying prevention policy file JIFCB be brought to the full school committee.
Second. Stephanie, do you want us to read into the record what the change is?
I am.
Okay. Any discussion? All right. You can vote.
All right,
Oh, no, we'll call. All right, everyone in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay. All right,
we did it.
we did it. There it is.
I'm always interested, it says this in the side question. Do kids ever take up teachers as bullies? In the
Yes.
history,
See that.
you know,
I can see that.
I know for a
of saying
fact,
this
yes.
teacher's got it out for me, in a serious manner.
People are people.
Yeah,
Whether they're
no.
big or small.
I hear it all the time, I wonder, what's the student's recourse, you might
Yeah, good question.
feel like the power dynamic is
Certainly is a power differential though.
extra.
It has happened. I can
Oh,
tell you.
yeah, oh,
I know
no,
for a fact.
yeah,
In the protocol, it does, it could be any person that, has this
We collect the data yearly, now with the new
Mhm.
policy, but then, we'll be able to have statistics.
I move that we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
The cool and warm cuts.
On that subject, Jeremy,